thing. I'm correct in saying that, Brent. Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Well, hi everyone. Welcome to Christ Central Church Fredericton podcast. My name's Joe Crummy, and I'm the host of Christ Central Stories, where we just take some time to learn more about some of the people in our church family. And today we have Andy Balzer with us. And so, Andy, thanks for being with us. Great to have you. And Andy, why don't you just start by sharing a bit about who you are and a bit of your background for us?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Yeah, it's exciting to be here on this podcast. Yeah, I think you're well suited for this format. Yeah, in terms of me, I'm Andy Balzer, born Andrew Jonathan Balzer. I'm from BC, originally lived in Langley, BC for most of my life, and yeah, I guess I don't know, kind of early on in school, realized I had like a talent for math and that sort of thing. So I was kind of like on the math stream of school, and yeah, and then kind of like around similar time, I grew up in had Christian parents, Christian grandparents, so
Great.
Christianity was introduced to me pretty early on in life, and it's kind of been a process of accepting Jesus early on in life, and then kind of taking more and more ownership of it as I've grown older. Yeah, so from BC, was there till I was 23 years old, at which point I made the move to Nova Scotia to go to...
Come east, young man.
Go to this Acadia University. This town called Wolfville. Sounded pretty interesting. I was really drawn in by I was told it's a great community.
Yeah, it is a great community.
I mean, from my life experience thus far, it's where good people are, I want to be.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I went there and did a master's in statistics, and during that same time, I got involved with a campus ministry organization called InterVarsity Christian Fellowship.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was great. I remember praying that I would find Christian community within while I was there, and basically within 24 hours of arriving, I had gotten connected with the group. And it was exciting. It was we were missionaries on campus. We were doing stuff to meet people, invite people to things. We had Christians and non-Christians in the mix. It saw people's on different spiritual journeys.
Yes.
So it was a really exciting.
Wow, sounds very
exciting
time.
Yeah, and so at the end of it, I decided, you know what, I'll do an internship with InterVarsity. So kind of the way the organization is, there's student groups at each campus, and then at each campus there's a staff person from the larger organization that oversees it, and then there's interns who spend a year kind of in a similar position as staff to kind of see is this something I want to do longer term, as well as just ministering to students, and then kind of discipling people and receiving discipling.
That's great. And that's what got you here at Fredericton.
And so I applied, I got accepted, and they put me in Fredericton. I was great. And so that was my first year in Fredericton. It was me and a few other interns at
I remember that.
UNB campus, and we were the group was pretty small at that point, so it was basically just trying a bunch of
different
stuff,
things,
praying, and seeing student leaders emerge. And then so
Andy, that's great. I'm going to interrupt you there just for a
ahead.
second. Can I just say, first of all, I learned at a young age I'm not very good at math, so just for the record. And then a couple quick things. Had you ever been out east before coming age 23?
No.
Wow, that's a huge step. Well done. That's great. And then so that got you to Fredericton, and that's where I think we connected as far as Christ Central and some of the crew from InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. All right, pick up the story from there.
Yeah, so that was September 2015 that I first arrived in Fredericton. Spent a year doing that. There was some things that I really enjoyed about that, particularly around like intentional time discipling
Yes.
people, kind of like developing skills around like leadership,
Yes.
communication, like really getting a better sense of my vocation during that time. And then there is things that I wasn't as into, like fundraising and like having a schedule that's not very structured. So
A steep learning curve on
yeah.
other things, isn't it?
So I finished the year out, and the other interns went on to staff, and we determined it was better for me to like
Right.
kind of like I liked Fredericton,
Yes.
like the people I knew, and so I wanted to like continue being in this
Yeah.
this area. So I did kind of like go off that summer of 2016. I did an internship at a different church in Dartmouth,
Yes, that's
Nova
right.
Scotia,
Remember that.
and that was again good learning
Yes.
experience.
Well, good for you.
Yeah, and then
Stretching.
I
Yeah.
came back to Fredericton, and like I'm gonna find work here.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of continue to be in this
Yeah.
community, and so yeah, spent a few months kind of working part-time at UMB at the
Yes.
like math learning center,
Yeah.
like doing like tutoring type
Yeah.
stuff. It's like yeah, it was something I really enjoy doing. And then a few months went by, and then I got kind of like ended up working. So now I'm working at this research institute.
Yes.
It's called New Brunswick Institute for Research, Data and Training, NBRDT for short. We like use data on New Brunswick
Yeah.
people to like figure out stuff about New Brunswick. It's like really interesting. And I've
sounds very
I've been
interesting,
there over
Andy.
4 years now.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Time just rolls by. All right. Well, thank you. That's great. And let me just segue from there, because I know you have some really sort of passions about work and vocation and just living out your Christian life. So, Andy, why don't you just take a couple of minutes? Why don't you just share with us maybe one or two of those passions, just maybe kind of help define them for us, and then how does that get lived out in everyday life?
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd say like when I've kind of thought about my passions, they kind of like boil down to like two areas. So the way I think of it is like one, developing systems to solve problems, right?
Yep.
And
That makes
so-
sense with a math background, indeed.
And so that's
Mhm.
like I don't know. Yeah, it's like I like solving problems, and I like kind of like taking a look back and like what are some like systems that we can figure out to
Yes.
like generally solve this type of problem in a better, more consistent way.
Right.
And so I've had roles where that's very much a thing. Like if I'm doing any sort of like math type stuff, then that pops up. The job I'm doing now, that definitely pops up. I like work with data on a regular basis, so it's like you definitely want to be thinking systematically about that.
There's lots of problems to be solved. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then so that'd be one.
Yeah.
And then the second one would be developing people to their full
Yes.
potential. Yeah, like that's kind of a way I think of like, yeah, like I like connecting with people.
Mm-hmm.
I like the kind of one-on-one type of interactions. Just like where is this person at in life? Kind of like asking them questions. Kind of getting a sense of where they are. Yeah, kind of like if there's stuff they're doing well, encouraging them in that.
Yes.
And then if there's stuff they're getting stuck on,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, how do we kind of like get through that? How do we get somewhere better?
Yeah.
And so I've had other roles where that's more of a common
Mhm.
thing, like particularly where, in like the year of like full-time ministry that I did, that was like the primary one
Yes.
I would have been using there. And so, yeah, it's really nice when like those two kind of come together, and I feel like kind of like I've been at this job now for 4 years, yeah, like, so I'm working as a data analyst
Yes.
at this point, and so the systems part has come in from the top,
I would
and
think
then
so.
kind of as I've gone along, kind of like the relational piece has kind of developed more and more. I've always kind of had an eye for that.
Yes.
I think just working in full-time ministry kind of just shapes your perspective
Yep.
a bit in terms of like, I'm in this workplace, relationships are important. Keep an eye on
Yep.
that. And then I've kind of been able to like be in more and more positions where I'm like able to encourage people, able to empower people.
Andy, that's great.
Yeah.
I just think that's a great combination, how, you know, God's kind of wired you to be able to work with numbers and problem solve and develop systems and things like that, but also then just the importance of relationships and being relational and caring for people and your coworkers and different things like that. It's a great sort of thing. And you want you maybe just expand on that. And I know some of the times we've talked before, I know you've talked and used the word or just description maybe of Barnabas in the Bible, which maybe not everyone would know, but can you maybe just expand a little bit upon who Barnabas was in the Bible, and then kind of how you feel that's part of your role of being an encourager, both in the workplace and in church life as well?
Yeah, so if you look at the New Testament, like the most famous guy would be Jesus, but then kind of if you look at the top 5 most famous people in the New Testament, then this guy Paul is gonna
Yes.
be in there.
Mhm.
So if you like go over to like Acts chapter 9, you see like his origin
Yep.
story where he's called, like, he goes by the name Saul at that point, and
Fascinating story, isn't
he
it?
like
Yeah.
he like totally flips from being like the guy who's zealously persecuting Christians to the guy who is zealously proclaiming Christ to people. And so there's like a, you know, right around that transition time, there's a piece there where like the other Christians aren't really sure what to do with this guy. It's
You
like,
can't really blame them.
like,
It's
not
kind of
long
like
ago,
they're not
this
sure
guy-
whether to trust this guy or not.
I
don't blame them.
But then this guy,
Yeah.
Barnabas, comes
Yeah.
in, and he like totally vouches for Saul in that
Yes.
moment where like, yeah, he just like comes alongside and he's like, Saul, I got you.
Yeah.
This guy's good. He's with me. And so, yeah. And then as the story goes on, you know, Barnabas kind of like fades into the background really, and Saul/Paul,
Yes.
really kind of like,
Gets more of the profile, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so I like the idea of being like Barnabas, or it's like I come into people's lives at like these key times, and I'm able to like come alongside, able to like provide what they
Yep.
need in those moments, and then they can go on and do more than I can.
Eddie, that is like so encouraging in itself, and so sort of not maybe the culture that the world would say to us, because the culture is more like look out for number one, self-promote, you know. And what you're saying, I just really commend you for having that spirit and that attitude, and I see it in church life. You know, obviously I'm not at your workplace, but I see you working and serving in church, encouraging our youth and different ones, and so I just commend you that I see you living that out, and that's a real witness to all of us.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's great. All right, and I'm going to totally change gears here. Okay, and so I'm going to talk about and maybe get you just to share some experience, because I think it might help some people. So totally different sort of vein here to go down for a few minutes, and that is we talk about worship, and in our kind of context, when we talk about worship, obviously worship is the whole of our lives, 24/7. But then when we gather together, sometimes together as a church, and we worship God, and the Bible says that when we do that, we can sing our praises to God, we can raise our hands, we can dance. But sometimes in our context, we're a bit shy to do some of these things, and maybe we're not as expressive as we'd like to on the inside. But I really feel like you've had a breakthrough but I also know it's a challenge in just being able to express our worship, your worship to God in dance. And I'm fascinated. Would you just take a few minutes maybe just to share your journey in that.
Yeah, I think it's a good topic. I mean, I think people who see me dance, it's like, like if you talk to me, I like present one way, and then you see me dance, and it.
How is a math analyst dancing?
Yeah,
it's a
pretty
unique.
Differently.
That's right.
And I think it's definitely like the work of the Holy Spirit in my life. I'm not like someone who like grew up going to dance classes or anything like that. And like really like in high school, I was like painfully shy, and I was like, I don't know, that was like a tough thing.
Yes.
In high school where like, you're quiet, and then you're just like scared of initiating conversation and then you just kind of feel on the outside. And so I just like kind of developed this pattern of just like hiding from the world. I'm like as tall as I am, and I've got red hair, and yet somehow I like became good at like hiding from people.
I'm sure many people can relate, Andy. Yeah.
But it's like not who I was created to be. And so, I mentioned like taking more and more ownership of my faith.
Yes.
Like one of the stages there was like around age 20. It's like, I don't know, really taking a radically honest approach to prayer.
Yeah.
Kind of like treating God like tell him what you want, tell him what you're feeling, tell him what the highs and the lows, the frustrations, all of that. And if you like, if you ask for stuff, like maybe you won't get it, but like we shouldn't be afraid to.
No,
ask
right
for,
on, and it's good.
Stuff. And so like, kind of around that time, I think similar around time, I made a regular habit of like reading my Bible regularly. So I think those two have been like key things in my life.
Yes.
And just like kind of interesting stuff started happening from that point forward. I just kind of like started to shift more and more toward like, I don't know, like spiritual desire, I guess, in the sense of like, I'm gonna pay less attention to like what are the like self-conscious fears and stuff that get in the way, and like deep down, how do I want to operate in this world? And so that like manifested in different ways. I like worked at this summer camp that when I was a teenager, that was not something I was expecting to be doing, but that was like,
so it kind of pushed you out of your comfort zone.
That was a great experience. Like kind of developed that like discipling side of things, and then like when we'd be in like worship time, I just like started getting this prompting of like, I want to like move a little bit, and so there's this constant tension of like, I want to hide. I want to not be seen, but like I want to lean into this more, and so it's like, and so it's kind of like
that's quite a tension,
pushing through that tension, and kind of just stepping more and more into that, and and then kind of a combination of that, and then like at camp you do like song actions, so I got like really into that, and then I did like swing dance lessons for a while, so it just kind of the combination developed this dance style that could most succinctly be described as Andy Balzer dance style. Yeah.
Oh, Andy, look, I just want to encourage you, because your encouragement to me, I know for those who are leading worship, like when people express their love to God, when people express through all kinds of different ways. And again, as we said, the Bible, there's all kinds of different ways. And sometimes that's just being still, and sometimes that's being expressive. But I know you're a real encouragement to the worship leaders and, to our church. But I also know that must be a real battle to not, be self-conscious all the time, or maybe worry about what other people are thinking, but to express your worship to God in that way.
Yeah, I appreciate the encouragement. I have had like a fair bit of encouragement from people over the years. And I think that has kind of helped me keep keep going. I think otherwise, I can get easily discouraged.
Yeah. Oh,
so it's good to have that.
Oh, I think anyone who kind of steps out in obeying God to express their worship in any way feels kind of maybe the self-awareness and the and the pushback, and just it is a battle. So way to persevere, and just encourage you to keep persevering.
Thanks.
That's good, Andy. All right, look, our time's almost done, and just in closing, great being able to share some of your background, different things, how you're living out your faith and following Jesus at the workplace, and how God's wired you and using that for good, and then in worship as well. So any last sort of thoughts, maybe, and just some summary of, and some helpful things of just, how do I live out, how God's made me and this walk of faith?
Yeah, so I've actually thought about this in the past, and I've got like a 4-step.
This is where the analytical numbers part comes into things.
Part of the reason I chose 4 is there's 4 beats in a measure, so it's there's kind of a rhythm.
I love it.
To it. And I remember at one point I had a friend say to me Andy, you should live the way you dance.
Wow.
And it's I really took that.
What a great phrase.
Yeah. And so, all right. So here's the.
Yep.
So I'll say the 4, and then I'll.
Sure, we'll close with that. Mm-hmm.
So, follow the rhythm, get training, respond to the moment, have fun with it.
I like that.
So, follow the rhythm, in dance, it's if you see 2 people on the dance floor, and one person's learned a bunch of moves, and they're trying to do it, but it's kind of stilted and stuff. They're not going to look as good as the person who's doing something very basic, but they're going to the rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so it's that's kind of key when you're dancing, is getting in sync with that rhythm. And so in life there's different seasons.
Yes.
There's different rhythms. There's fun, good, positive seasons. There's and then there's hard, bad, negative seasons. And so there's often a rhythm that you follow. And that's really good. And that you follow in faith.
Yes.
And then number 2, get training, right? So it's so I've taken dance classes here and there. One of the things that you kind of get when you're around skilled dancers, it's oh yeah, this is how much more there is to go. It's I know.
You just realize how much more there is to learn.
That's great. I can just kind of blend into the class. I'm just one of the crew.
That's great. It takes courage to get more training, so that's good.
It expands my capacity in terms of how I'm able to express myself. So that's kind of the motivation I have.
No, that's great. That's really good.
Training. And so that applies to life, where you go to school, you get other kinds of training, you want to expand your capacity for what you're able to do, and then it applies to faith, where you want to be ideally intentionally pursuing mentorship, discipling, kind of seeing it. You're discipling, you're receiving discipling.
That's really good.
And then there's or 3, responding to the moment, right? So it's sometimes there's, I don't know, if you're dancing, it's there's times you're gonna be kind of loose about it, and there's times you're gonna quick sharp motions. Right? So it's depending on
you're adjusting
where the music's at. You're you got your training, you got your rhythm, and you're responding to what's there. And so I think that's again, life lesson, faith. It's you've got got what you got up to
Yep.
this moment, and moments arise, and you're generally going to respond based on what you've got inside of you at that point. That's probably one where like I'm probably better at that in dance than in life. That's probably something like I'm trying to like improve on.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, and then like have fun with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Oof.
if you're dancing and you got like all the skills and you're like doing everything, but you're just like, I'm a machine. I'm not having fun. This is serious business. Like, I'm not interested in that. It's like, and you know, you can, I feel like that's a strong point for me on the dance floor. Like, you see me, you can tell like, that guy's having fun.
You are having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so,
well, I'm telling you, that's a model because for myself, I know sometimes we take ourselves too seriously. Like, honestly, we do.
Yeah.
And, you know, honestly, we want to take our life, you know, following Jesus seriously, all that. But I think Jesus had fun a lot of the time, and we can take ourselves less seriously, and we can have a go at some things and have some fun doing it.
yeah.
So
Agreed.
I love how you lead the way in that.
Thanks.
It's an inspiration and encouragement to all of us.
Sweet.
Yeah. All right. Well, Andy, thank you so much for sharing with us. Great for you to open up your life to us and for our church and for us to be able to get to know you more. We really appreciate it, and really great to just learn more about people in our church, and we're going to continue to do this. So, Andy, thanks again. And I think there's lots of things there for us to be able to learn from and to apply to our lives. So, Andy, bless you. Thank you. And we're going to see you out on the dance floor.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Great. Bye-bye.